Hey, Jason. I've been thinking a lot about learning a new language lately. Have you ever tried?
Absolutely, Emily. I actually started learning Spanish a few years ago. It was challenging at first, but I really enjoyed the process. Learning a language opens up so many new opportunities. What about you? Which language are you thinking about learning?
I've always been fascinated by French and Italian. They both sound so beautiful and romantic, you know? But I can't decide which one to start with. Any advice?
Well, both are great choices. French has a lot of similarities with English, especially when it comes to vocabulary, since many English words have French roots. Italian, on the other hand, is often considered easier in terms of pronunciation because it's more phonetic. What you see is what you say. So it really depends on what you're looking for.
That's true. I hadn't thought about the phonetics part. But I love French culture, Paris, the art, the cuisine. It's also appealing. But Italian is so vibrant too. I imagine myself strolling through the streets of Rome, ordering a cappuccino in perfect Italian.
I get what you mean. Both cultures are incredibly rich. Have you traveled to any French or Italian-speaking countries before?
Not yet, but it's on my list. That's one of the main reasons I want to learn a new language. I feel like you get so much more out of traveling when you can speak the local language, even if it's just basic phrases. What about you? Did learning Spanish make your travels more enjoyable?
Oh, definitely. When I went to Spain, speaking the language changed the whole experience for me. It wasn't just about ordering food or asking for directions. I could actually engage with people on a deeper level. Locals really appreciate it when you make the effort to speak their language, even if you're not perfect. It opens doors to more authentic experiences.
That's exactly what I want. I've always felt like there's this invisible barrier when you don't know the language. You can still enjoy the sights and the culture, but you miss out on those spontaneous conversations with locals, or understanding the little nuances that only native speakers pick up.
You're totally right. It's like you're experiencing the surface of the culture, but language lets you dig deeper. Plus, learning a language really expands your mind. You start to think differently, especially as you understand new ways of expressing ideas.
That's another thing I've heard, that learning a new language can even change how you think. I read somewhere that certain concepts or feelings are expressed differently in other languages, and it can give you a new perspective on things.
Absolutely. For instance, in Spanish, there are phrases that don't translate directly into English, but they capture feelings or ideas in a way that English can't. It's fascinating. It shows you how culture and language are so interconnected.
That's so cool. So, how long did it take you to feel confident in Spanish? I mean, I don't expect to be fluent right away, but I want to feel like I can at least have a basic conversation without freezing up.
It took me about 6 months of consistent practice to feel comfortable with the basics, but it's important to remember that fluency takes time and there's no rush. What really helped me was setting small, realistic goals, like learning 10 new words a day or practicing conversations for 15 minutes. It keeps you motivated without feeling overwhelmed.
That sounds doable. I've been thinking about using language apps like Duolingo or Babbel to get started. Have you tried those?
Yes, I used Duolingo in the beginning. It's a great way to build vocabulary and practice daily. But after a while, I felt like I needed more real-life practice, so I started using language exchange platforms where I could talk to native speakers.
Oh, like language exchange meetups or online platforms?
Exactly. I used a website called Italki, where you can connect with native speakers for conversation practice. Some are just casual language partners, and others are professional tutors. It really helped boost my confidence because you're talking to real people, not just interacting with an app.
That sounds amazing. I've always been a bit nervous about speaking with native speakers, though. What if I make a mistake or can't understand what they're saying?
It's normal to feel that way, but the thing is, native speakers are usually very patient and encouraging, especially when they know you're learning. And making mistakes is part of the process. The more you practice, the more you'll improve. The key is to not let the fear of mistakes hold you back.
You're right. I guess I just need to get over that initial fear. I mean, that's how we learned our first language, right? By making mistakes and learning from them.
Exactly. Think of it as a journey, not a race. There's no finish line where you suddenly become fluent. You're always learning, and that's what makes it so rewarding. Plus, there are so many fun ways to immerse yourself in the language: music, movies, podcasts.
Oh yeah, I've heard that watching shows or movies in the target language with subtitles can really help. Do you have any recommendations?
Definitely. For French, you could start with something like Les Choristes or Amélie. They're classic French films, and the language is pretty clear. For Italian, La Vita è Bella is beautiful and fairly easy to follow. And you can also check out language-specific podcasts where they teach in short, digestible episodes.
That sounds like a fun way to learn. I could see myself picking up phrases just by watching a good movie. Do you think it's better to watch with subtitles in English or the target language?
At first, I'd recommend using English subtitles so you can follow along and understand the context. But as you get more comfortable, switch to subtitles in the target language. That way, you can match the spoken words with the written ones, and it really helps with comprehension.
That makes sense. I guess the more exposure you have, the more things start to click. I'm also thinking about listening to French or Italian music to get used to the sounds of the language. Do you think that helps?
Oh, absolutely. Music is a great way to immerse yourself in the rhythm and melody of a language. Plus, it's fun. You can sing along and get familiar with common expressions. French music has some amazing artists like Edith Piaf or Stromae. And for Italian, there's Andrea Bocelli or Laura Pausini.
I'll definitely check them out. I love the idea of learning through something as enjoyable as music. This whole language learning journey is starting to sound less intimidating and more like an adventure.
That's the spirit. Just remember, consistency is key. Even if you only practice for 10-15 minutes a day, it adds up over time. And don't forget to celebrate the small victories, like mastering a tricky grammar rule or being able to order food in the language.
I will. I'm actually excited to get started now. Maybe I'll start with French, and if I get the hang of it, I'll tackle Italian next.
That's a great plan. And remember, it's all about enjoying the process. The more you engage with the language, the more you'll love learning it. And who knows? Maybe one day you'll be able to travel to France or Italy and have a full conversation with a local.
That's the dream. Thanks so much for all the advice, Jason. I feel a lot more confident about starting this journey now.
Anytime, Emily. And if you ever want to practice, just let me know. We can help each other out along the way.